Welcome to the Orange Flag Podcast. Well, the WEC season opener is in jeopardy, but first, Austin's St. Pete recap. I'm Nicole.
I'm Aries.
I'm Austin, and let's get into the St. Pete recap. Yes, if you listened to last episode when I was like, might go, might not go, I ended up going. And I went for all 3 days, because it was basically the same price as going for 1 day. So we're just gonna go in date order, because that seems like the easiest way. So Friday, all I'm gonna say is, it started off by IMSA teams. If you need a driver for Daytona, hit me up, because to get from where I live to St. Pete, I was driving in the fog the entire time. So I can do a fog stint if needed. And then when I got there, went to go look at merch, because I got there very early in order to get access to the truck autograph session. So I just needed something to do until there was stuff going on track. So the things I noticed were, if you wanted a CGR hat for anyone but Kiffin, you were out of luck. It was also last year Kiffin hats, so not even this year's Kiffin hats.
So they just, what we mean to say there, unfortunately for my boy, is he had leftover inventory and Alex and Scott didn't.
Correct.
People, support my boy. Go out there. I have one right here. Go out there and buy the fun blue Journey Kiffin hat.
Exactly.
There were a decent amount left. The other thing I noticed, if you wanted a Kyle Kirkwood hat, it is literally the exact same as the generic Indycar hat. Just instead of saying Indycar on it, it says Kyle Kirkwood.
That feels like a last minute thing.
How creative.
It very much so, it very much so gave we needed to submit a design this week vibes. And then my other thing, coin. If you're gonna have like as good of a season as it seems you're gonna have based off how this race went in qualifying, you need to get on the merch game, because you had zero merch. I say this because my goal was to get Dennis merch, and there was no Dennis merch. So coin, I'm gonna need you to get on the merch game, especially if we're gonna be having a good season, because there was none. Disappointed.
I feel like last year at St. Pete, there was almost no merch.
Everyone had merch, except for coin.
But so everyone had something.
Yes.
Like a shirt or a hat or a barely knockoff Kyle Kirkwood hat. Coin had nothing?
Coin had nothing.
Coin, come on.
So what I'm saying is, coin, just make something. Because literally everyone had something.
Let's be fair. Coin is running the same sponsors as the 60 in IMSA, and those guys' suits didn't match their car. So I feel like Todd Alt's companies may be a little behind on the merch licensing game, including race suits for their drivers. Like, they prioritized the IndyCar guys and getting them in matching suits.
Yes.
And I fear that the 60 is going to roll up to Sebring looking like the Dale Coyne IndyCar drivers, and I don't like that.
I don't either. All I'll say is
blue was a good color for them. Do we have to make them orange polka dots? I'm already tormented enough with Scott in orange. I know I don't actually talk about Scott all that much when it comes to IMSA, but I do really like Scott Dixon. And I already am tormented, again, hats, I'm tormented enough with the man and his orange merch. I don't need him having more orange merch. How many Ganassi hats can I put on?
Speaking of IMSA and the 60 there, they recently came out with new merch, and it is the orange. So all I'm saying is coin. If MSR can get on it in IMSA, you can get on it in IndyCar. Please and thank you. And then
Please and thank you.
I just want Dennis merch, okay? Or else I'm gonna have to get his Norwegian sponsor to give me the shirts that they had at the race. And I say that because I somehow became
Some
adopted by
knockoff
them for a
merch.
bit. Yes.
How much actual PPM merch do we own as the PPM super fans at the track?
I think like 2 things.
2 things. Like, if we count, like, my hat that Kevin gave me and, like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're counting
the Jaminet hat, and he's not even on the team anymore.
He's on the team in my heart.
This 963 hat, like, if we're counting this stuff, I actually have a lot of PPM.
I was gonna say, if we're counting the hats that I was given and that kind of stuff, then it's more than 2, but I'm not.
Yeah, the autograph session hats, the, like, all that stuff. Let's go through and see how many PPM hats. Okay, I actually have a lot of PPM hats, so maybe PPM was not, like, the most great example. Got Nasser.
Really?
I've got signed by all the drivers last year. I've got blank hat from last year. I've got Kevin and I've got Jam.
I was gonna say, I have Matt, Michael, Larry.
Oh, and then if we're counting
my signed by everyone hat.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the guys' hats at the session.
It just happened.
I was too busy bugging Kevin to go get me a hat.
Well, it just happened that Matt and Michael were the guys I like a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna grab those.
Right.
It also
Kevin
happened that
didn't have any hats. There weren't
Michael's
a ton
worked
of
out
Larry
with
hats,
being
so I didn't want to take, like, in case there were actual hardcore Lawrence Vantor fans. Like, I like Larry, but he knows, and we all know, he's not my number one in that car.
I got the Larry one because it was the number was correct.
Yes, it was the
Michael's
only 6
was
hat
convenient that the number was correct too. So I was like, chill, because Matt's hat was a 5 hat.
Yes, it was.
But last bit of info for merch. Tricon was the only NASCAR team that brought merch. And it wasn't like how normally for NASCAR we have like the big like merch haulers. It was a tiny little tent, and it didn't get set up until like halfway through the day. And I was the first person to go through this tent because even the checkouts weren't set up yet when I went through.
Nice.
But yeah, their merch was great, so had to get some. But now let's get into actual things. We're going to start off with IndyCar autograph session, which was a lot of chaos.
As it always is.
For context for this, I met some people from Wales in line, and we all decided to ask silly, goofy questions to the drivers throughout this line. That's the context you need for this. And they were like Penske and ECR fans. So just a first thing that I observed with the lines of when they were getting longer and longer and longer, Christian Rasmussen and Mick were in one line and Pato was in the other line. And for the most part, they were pretty even. At the end, Christian and Mick's line became the longer line. So I know that was kind of, a lot of people were going to wonder how that was going to play out and things. So that was just like something of notice. And a lot of people actually were like talking about that in line too, about how usually at St. Pete, it's like the Pato line's extremely long and then the other line's really short. This year they were pretty similar. I
think that honestly, with the younger, more socially conscious female fans, at least the ones I talked to, Pato lost them with his marketing over the past 18 months. He is trying to appear like sexy and edgy in a weird way, and it's not hitting home correctly for the demographic he's trying to market himself to. Whereas, like, Mick just has his fans from Formula One, he has his fans from WEC, that I'm not surprised. Like, IndyCar is in the same price range as WEC, with a lot more opportunities in the US, obviously. And Christian has made a point to be super approachable, to be super, like, fan friendly, and is, like, going out of his way to be inclusive to female fans. Like, he just launched a new clothing line that was with a female creator, like a clothing designer. So, I'm not shocked at all that maybe some former Pato fans might be Christian Rasmussen fans now.
What I got from talking to people online was a lot of kind of that sentiment of a lot of people are becoming Christian fans, especially now after his merch, like, clothing line release, and how inclusive he was of female fans with his release, and the language he used with his release is what made a lot of people want to support him even more now, which he also had that clothing release at the track as well, and did a separate signing at that booth as well. So yeah, it was, but that was just kind of something of notice. Now we'll get into the actual, like, conversations and everything. Scott Dixon was the first one in the line I went through, and I made a point of calling him out on his autograph, because I looked at it and I was like, Scott, you actually used your number this time. He was, because I was like, at Daytona, you didn't use your number. And he's like, it's probably because I forgot what my number was.
Nice.
And I was like, I guess you do have different numbers, but, like, it's not like you have a ton.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very good with, like the 9 on the Ganassi hat. Put that on since I'm just wearing all of my Ganassi stuff. And then, like, the 01 on this, and then my suit's all the way over there. I don't want to reach over and get it, but the suit does have a 60 on it.
Yeah.
Did I ever actually show that?
Yeah.
Like, have I shown because I know I posted the picture of the suit, but I know I wore it. I actually am not 100% sure I've shown, like, the
But, like,
autograph
anytime I've gotten Scott to sign something 60 related, he has forgotten to put the 60 on it every single time. So I was like, I gotta call this man out for his inconsistency with number usage.
So there is a 60 on it. So I do have examples of pretty much all of Scott's autographing.
But, yes.
Again, everybody watch this episode in YouTube, because
we're gonna be showing stuff, so you're gonna want to see stuff. But so I had to call Scott out on his number usage, and then after that, we got to Joseph, and my friend congratulated him on his second offspring. And Joseph thought the usage of offspring was amazing. So if you want to congratulate Joseph on his child, say offspring. He finds it hilarious.
Very nice, very nice.
And then we got to Christian Rasmussen. For context, by the way, I got my hat signed by literally everyone I found at the race, except for Santino. He was in the line I went through for obvious reasons. I literally went hat to person next to him. No Santino, hat to person next to him. Santino was not signing my hat. But when we got to Christian Rasmussen, he was the only guy with, like, a pile of friendship bracelets on his table. And I was like, you're already winning with most friendship bracelets. And he was like, do you want one? I have too many. Here you guys go. And, like, gave all 3 of us one. So whoever made him this Stevia baddie bracelet, it's mine now.
Nice.
But yes. He was
Hold
like,
that
I
up
have
a little
too many.
better so that people can see it.
It looks like this.
Nice.
But yes. So I was friendship braceleted by Christian Rasmussen.
Very cool.
And then I got to Felix, and in line, I'm wearing an old IMSA 60 shirt from when Fro did Daytona, because Colin was doing this race, Scott was doing this race, and Felix was doing this race. So it was literally 3 of the 4 guys on the shirt. I was like, it's too fitting of a shirt not to wear this shirt to the race. I didn't expect wearing the shirt to mean that MSR admin who was behind Felix to be like, can we get a photo of you and Felix in this shirt? And then I had to point to the shirt and take these photos. And then when I got to the end of the line, I had to get interviewed about my shirt too by MSR. So that was a whole thing. But
What
we had
did
a
they
very
ask?
they just like asked a bunch of questions about like liking MSR, like supporting them in series and stuff. It became more about sports cars than Indy cars. For obvious reasons of it was a sports car shirt.
Yeah.
But they were like, I was like, oh yeah, I wore it because Colin's here. And they were like, you know Colin's here? And I was like, yes. I do know Colin is racing trucks. It's actually why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I got somehow accidentally with Felix into a whole conversation about Colin instead.
Nice.
So Colin, I'm sorry, but I talked about you a lot to your team. Because they wanted to. And then I went through the line for Christian Lundgaard, and my one goal was, if you don't know, he got a cat over the break, and he asked for name suggestions, but never shared what he named the cat. And I was like, I want to know this cat's name. So I was like, Christian, I need to know what you ended up naming the cat. He was like, I named her Laguna. I was like, that's a great name. He was like, it's a great name for a cat. Yes, it's perfect. And he was like, she is chaos. Every time I come home, she just wants attention straight away. And I just want to sleep because I'm never home. And I got a whole story about how this cat is chaos and doesn't leave him alone. But he still does sound happy to be a cat dad. But I didn't expect, like, very long talk about stories about Laguna. Not the track. The cat. But that's what we got. And then me and my friends decided that we wanted to, if you don't know, there's these soaps that are in the shape of drivers' faces, okay? And they had a booth at the track. And they started with Pato. There's soaps that are like the shape of drivers' faces. It's very weird, okay?
Yeah, I saw these at the 500 last year, and like people were trying to give them out, and I was like, this is, I don't want one. Thank you, but no thank you.
So they started with Pato, and then they just came out with David Malukas. And David was in our line. And we were like, we need to ask David how he feels about the soap. So we got down to David, and we were like, David, honest, what do you think about the soap? And he was like, it's weird. And I was like, especially depending on how you use it. And he's like, yeah, if you use it as a body soap, that's really weird.
It feels like one of those things that just, like, should stay in the box and could be, like, a podcast prop. Like,
yes.
Like, pretend this isn't a helmet and it's, like, a soap. Like, oh, look, there is the soap. Like, not gonna lie, like, even if they made a Scott or a Kiffin soap, I wouldn't get it. Other than, like, if the intention was just to have it sit here with all of my podcast props, because I just think it's weird.
I figured out from talking with people at the track who the next soaps are. And all I'm going to say is, if your driver has a strong jawline, they'll end up as a soap.
I thought they had Joseph soap last year.
They don't, and everyone's surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because he seems like the most obvious one if strong jawline is your criteria. But yes, David does think the soaps are very weird. Also, if you looked on Penske socials and you saw that my photo was on there, and that was because we were questioning David about soap for a really long time. Yeah. And then after IndyCar, autograph session was the truck's autograph session, which was only like 100 people. You had to get an autograph wristband like first thing when you came in, which is how NASCAR does like their autograph sessions in general. So this is very normal. What was nice though is this one was inside the media center, so it was in the very cold AC, which I really appreciated. But yeah, so Hinch had to ditch the autograph session like halfway through, not even, because he had to go do his, other job for the weekend of broadcaster. Yeah, but at least he was there, unlike some other people. Colin, I'm talking about you.
That's really disappointing because Colin is like the reason you decided to go to this race is because Colin was doing trucks.
Yes.
I mean, luckily you're going to see Colin in like 2.5 weeks. So you can just scold him at Sebring for not showing up to the truck autograph session.
Yes.
I feel like that will go over super well.
Yes,
definitely.
It smells like
No, I actually
pollen.
think he will love that.
I also couldn't find him the whole weekend. Boy was in hiding. So,
yeah, he was hiding at MSR.
Yeah, I even went to MSR, and he wasn't at MSR when I went to MSR. I was like, where is this man? But yes. But for the autograph session, I did get a free late models die cast.
Nice.
So that was
Love
nice.
that.
It's signed. We love a free die cast.
Yes.
So, much appreciated.
There
and then
it is.
we were talking to a lot of the drivers about like how they are feeling about driving at St. Pete because Trucks hasn't done a street race before. So the question to literally everyone was like, so how you feeling about street course? And they were like, not great. Like Daniel Dye was like, I'm excited, but also very anxious because I don't know what to expect. And I got into like some discussions with a lot of guys where they were like comparing road courses and that to like street courses. So it got very technical too, which like was very interesting to get into the very technical side of it with them. But yeah, all of them were like really not excited to like be experiencing this for the first time, but also like excited at the same time. They were just like very anxious of this track for obvious reasons, especially as we found out later on, not having practice or qualifying.
Yeah.
So you just go into the race straight away, and it's like, okay. But yeah, that was that. Also, Jimmy wasn't racing in trucks this weekend, but was, being a crew chief for Dario. Dario had like 4 crew chiefs though, so like,
yeah,
I don't know. But Jimmy was doing the autographs like session, despite not racing. He brought like his truck autograph cards, which was cool.
That's awesome.
And they had his truck's merch too, which was cool because obviously I'm like a really big Jimmy Johnson fan. He's who like got me into
he's
NASCAR
your OG.
as a kid.
He's to you what Jeff Gordon is to me. Like he's your OG dominant driver that you paid attention to as a kid.
Yeah, so I was very excited. I am convinced, though, that he did do this autograph session just to have more time to yap with Dario, because the whole time in the autograph session, they were just talking with each other. So I'm convinced he did this autograph session just so they could yap.
I'm surprised Scott didn't show up just to hang out with his besties, quite frankly.
Like, literally, they were the 2 guys at the very end of the line, and you got there and it's just the 2 of them yapping. It was like, checks out.
Yeah.
Not surprised. And then I went through the Penske autograph session. I know, everyone be shocked. I went through
You're a Penske fan, so you like them in sports cars, you like them in NASCAR, and now you've decided you like them in Indycar. You're just a Penske fan.
Everyone.
I'm going to tell Roger at Sebring. I'm going to find Roger and I'm going to tell him how big of a Penske fan you are.
Busted.
I am not. I just had friends who were Penske fans, so they were going through the line, so I went through the line. And once again, we somehow got into the conversation of David's soap.
Oh my god.
Because we were talking with, like, Joseph's team about the soap, and they were like, we haven't seen the soap. We need to go see the soap. So I'm really sorry, David, but we did send all of Penske on a mission to find your soap to see how creepy it was. Which then led to Joseph yelling across to us, I use David's soap.
Nice.
So Joseph
that's a headline right there.
Yeah.
Joseph Newgarden uses David Malukas soap.
Yes.
Love it.
I think that
It
sums up
was
how
great.
unhinged the whole thing was.
Yeah, it was something. It was like, okay, Joseph. Whatever you say, buddy.
Yeah.
So then that's everything from Friday. For Saturday, continuing on with the soap conversation, we went through Christian Rasmussen's line, because my other friend I met there was a big Christian Rasmussen fan. So, like, his merch that he had with that separate line, we went through that. Apparently, Rasmussen was reached out to about the soap and left them on red because he also finds the soap creepy. I just got a lot of drivers' feelings about soap that's shaped like them. The consensus is most of them find it creepy, except for Joseph, who uses David's soap. And then after qualifying, Coin had a pizza party. I mean, it makes sense. I too would have a pizza party if both my cars made it into the Fast
What pizza
Six.
did they order?
So that's the thing. I could never see the boxes. I just saw everyone at Coin walking around with pizza.
Okay, so if you are with Dale Coin Racing, or if you know someone who is with Dale Coin Racing, let us know what pizza you ordered for the dual Fast Six qualifying effort pizza party thing. Because we would love to know, because we love keeping track of track snacks.
Yes. I tried, but I couldn't see the boxes. And I was like, well, I just know they had pizza. So that's your food update. It's just Coin had pizza. And I too would
Coin
have
had
pizza,
pizza.
you know, if I had, like, that great of qualifying when I wasn't expected to. Especially if my rookie, you know, was in the top 3. And then trucks. I have to talk about it. Colin made it into the top 10, which means he's the highest finisher of the 3 former IndyCar guys. Yes, Colin does count as a former IndyCar driver. Because he did
absolutely.
Yes, he does.
Like, not even a question. You don't need to even qualify that. He raced in IndyCar, like, recently.
Exactly.
Like, it's not even like it was a really long time ago.
No.
He recently raced in IndyCar.
Exactly. So he counts, but I just like getting to say that he finished the highest of the 3 of them. It's great.
That's because the other 2 decided to crash into each other.
They did decide to crash into each other. It was more Dario crashing into Jimmy.
Yeah. Jimmy Hinch is the best alter ego.
Oh,
like,
I forgot to mention, Jimmy had stickers. They were great.
Nice.
Because despite leaving the autograph session early, he kept a stack of stickers and cards. So I do have a Jimmy Hinch sticker. It's great.
Cool. That is very...
Yeah, but they very much so did have contact, and Colin was just like, I'm here, I'm driving clean. He did do some drifting on track, and I was like, yes, Colin, drift. It's my favorite thing when guys do drifting.
Drift, because it's not good for the tires.
But also, I like it, so it was cool to see. I mean, Colin also does have the advantage that he has raced trucks before.
Yes, yes.
and has won in trucks before.
Yeah, like an actual professional truck racer, not just doing a one-off for funsies.
Yes. Colin is a NASCAR driver, okay? It might have been a minute, but, like, he's a NASCAR driver. In my heart, he is a NASCAR driver. He also joked around with AJ at Daytona that they were both NASCAR drivers.
Yes.
Therefore, he's a NASCAR driver. That was Saturday. Now we're going to get into Sunday. Sunday, most of the notes is just drivers were falling. Well, almost falling a lot. Dennis almost fell off his scooter because he was trying to avoid the big crowd of people by going around a planter, but he had to pick up his scooter to do it, and he almost didn't get fully through the gap, and was his scooter started falling. It was a mess. It was right next to me, and I was like, the poor child is just struggling right now. Mick, if you don't know, his sponsor is bike related. So Mick was the only one that instead of having scooter had bike. Which, as we know, compared to electric scooters, bikes need momentum. And Mick got stuck in a situation of the haulers and everything, all the guys with actual cars and stuff stopping right in front of him, so he had to try to stay on the bike, and you saw Mick just being like, guys, I need you to move or I'm going to fall. It was kind of funny. You just saw in his face the moment of Mick being like, I am about to fall off this bike if somebody doesn't move.
We've got bike instructor for you, but I will put an offer out there for Long Beach and Detroit. Nick, if you need somebody to help you with track stands, hi, I'm good at that, even on a road bike. So, because I'm assuming he was on a road bike, because his sponsor appears to be a road bike company. But I can help you with that. So we've got bike instructor for Oz and bike instructor for Mick Schumacher. This is great. Fantastic.
Yes.
It's a trade-off.
And then, trade-off. Joseph Newgarden, once again, hilarious this weekend. To avoid having to sign a bunch of stuff, he just hid behind a tree. Joseph,
so he wasn't really trying to avoid people. He was just being goofy.
No, he hid behind this tree, was poking his head out to see if people were coming. If there were, he hid back behind the tree. Then he looked out again, saw a gap, and went to the hauler. It was funny. Because once again, it was right behind where I was standing, and I was just like, Joseph, what are you doing? The only normal one, so Scotty walked just through the bushes. David was like, I'm gonna use the walkway and actually walk like a normal person. So the only normal one was David. Which, if you had asked me who at Penske would be the most normal one, it wasn't David. But okay. And then when it came to the flyover for the race, I don't know what happened. We had parachuting and a flyover. And the parachuting was on time. The flyover, the anthem was over. They said thank you to the base that did the flyover. Flyover still hadn't happened. We saw them turn and leave. We were like, okay, guess no flyover. And then 5 minutes later, flyover. We were like, did they just miss their cue or something? What happened here? It was very random. It was just okay. Yes, the flyover was very delayed, which I've never experienced that before. So, very funny.
When you go eventually to the Indy 500, they essentially do 2 flyovers.
Charlotte for the 600 was 3 flyovers.
Yeah, if you don't remember that because they go lengthwise down the straight, and then they loop around and then they come back over the pagoda. It's really cool. Like, it's an awesome way to do a flyover, but it's not like they do it immediately. It's a big gap between the two. So if you're not prepared for it, it's like a little surprising. That's a fun fact for anybody who is going to the 500 this year, is like,
Yeah, nobody
be
was
aware that
prepared
you a
for
cool
this,
one.
because normally our flyovers at St. Pete are like right when the anthem like is about to end, and this one was like very delayed, so everyone just like jumped because we all were like not expecting it at all. We were like, okay, just no flyover this year, and then it happened, and we were like, okay. And then it wouldn't be me as a Christian Lundgaard fan to not talk about Christian Lundgaard got on the podium. I'm very excited. He did do very Lundgaard moves to get the podium, which I love. So it was great. But I finally got to see one of my drivers on the podium at St. Pete, so I will take it.
Yes.
And then I just had like some general, I guess, more online based thoughts about the race. People online had the most bizarro suggestions, and I was talking to a few of my friends who also are, IndyCar fans online, that it seems like people want to turn IndyCar into F1.
Yep.
Like, people suggesting that they need to alter like the spec to try and reel Palou back in. Like, what makes Alex Palou so impressive, and what made Scott Dixon so impressive during his prime, is that it is a spec series. It is purely driver based. Yes, if you can hire the best pit crew, the best strategists, you are going to have a bit of an advantage. 13 seconds does not come from a pit crew advantage. It does not come from a strategist advantage. That comes from being the best driver out there on that day. So, like, if people want a BOP series, I can introduce you to sports cars. They love altering results when one team is what they consider too good. So check out sports cars if you want that.
Yeah, sports cars. Well, I mean, they come in a lot of speeds, shapes, and colors. So there's plenty for you to be satisfied. I mean, what in the world would they be suggesting? God forbid, open wheel version of Success Ballast? Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't stand the
Basically.
Palou domination, but like, I don't want Success Ballast.
Yeah, I can't stand the Alex Palou domination, especially at this race. The gap between first and second was so wide that, like, watching the race, I just basically had to ignore Palou for it to be interesting.
Did you guys see that video that Josh posted today? It was like through the fence of all the cars going by. I commented on it because so he just posted one over the weekend, like just one little clip of, I think it was Scott's car going by, and he said, I got the whole field going by, and and then I said, are you gonna post it? And he did. And when I started watching the video, I thought he was trolling posting it. I thought it was just a clip of Alex. Alex had like a massive gap in that video.
That's why, like, for the race, like, literally in person, I was just like not even paying attention to Alex's car, because basically the whole time that's how it was, and it was just like, if I'm paying attention to where he is, it's boring. I had to wait for the cars behind him where like actual passing and like the actual excitement of the race was.
I mean, but we do need to remember that Alex did not start on the front row. So like he still had to make his way through the field. It's not like he had
he didn't
flag to checkered flag domination.
I mean, he didn't start that far back from the front row. He basically was like at the front from turn 1 for the like he got ahead of Dennis very quickly and then was able to get to first pretty quickly after that. Like, it didn't take long.
Yeah, but I mean,
It would be different if he started way back in the field. He started on the second line.
He still needed to make passes. He still needed to, like getting around what was it? Erickson and Scotty Mack was not easy for him. That wasn't like just blowing by. It's not like I just think that yes, like people can say Alex dominating is boring, but he still needs to put himself in these positions to run away with the lead of the race. He still needs to get into the lead. He still needs to execute on his pit stops. He still need, like, I don't know. I think people act like it's like in Formula One where, oh, Mercedes has the strongest car, no one can compete. I mean, these are spec cars. This is literally just Alex being flawless.
Yeah, 13-second gaps for the win in IndyCar is, to me, it's still wild.
Yeah.
I'm used to there always being like a battle for victory. Like what we saw for second place would usually be what we see for victory. Like,
right.
It's always 2 people, 3 people going at it, and it's just not what we have been seeing lately.
Yeah. And then I guess speaking of the starts, people were questioning, like I saw a lot of people talking about, well, why do they do rolling starts? Why don't they do a standing start? And just confusion about that. The cars are capable now with the hybrid of doing standing starts, so they just don't want to. And I think it is something that does it's something that feels uniquely American, right?
I was gonna say, it's very much so an American racing thing, like NASCAR, IMSA. Over here, having a rolling start for people who don't watch other series, besides like F1 and IndyCar, wouldn't know that that's just like a normal thing over here. Like most of our series do rolling starts.
Yeah.
So for IndyCar to go away from a rolling start would be odd to me, just because over here that is kind of the norm. For us, a standing start like in F1, that's more unusual and uncommon than a rolling start is.
Obviously, like you said, you could in theory do that now with the hybrid, but it just brings me back to when they attempted it in the last time, 2013, 2014, and it got messy. Plenty of times it got messy. And I'd rather have them stick with what they've always had, which unlike for a few years during the split, I think they did standing starts. The Champ Car side of things did standing starts.
Yeah.
But that's just not what IndyCar is. They should just stick to to tradition, basically.
If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Which is kind of the next thing. People were saying there need to be more IndyCar races. Why are there not an F1 number of IndyCar races? Well, I think that every driver over the age of 30 in the series would quit if they had that many races. A lot of these guys do other series. A lot of these guys really value their time at home. They are in general an older field. You see a lot of guys that are married and have children, which you don't see in Formula One. So I just don't think that having 25 races would even be something that IndyCar would consider.
Also, something you have to factor in for IndyCar, because I had a discussion about this too at the race. they do have races like close together as well. Like, for example, we're about to have Phoenix, like, and St. Pete just ended. So, like, they're also, yeah, their off season was really long, but they have races really like back to back too for a decent amount too. And that's draining, having to travel from place to place really close together as well. So, yeah, maybe it might not seem like a ton to you. I still think it's a lot. But you have to factor in the fact that for them, yeah, it's a long off season, but during the season, you're traveling a lot really close together, which gets really tiring after a while.
Yeah. And then I think the thing I saw most online is, why does Nolan Siegel have a seat? I'm willing to give him up to the 500, but I mean, if he's qualifying on the second to last row and is just a non-factor in the race, once again holding up his teammates.
Yes.
Like when he was lap traffic for Christian and Pato, when they were fighting for like podium positions, he's holding them up. So, that's just unacceptable.
What's also really unacceptable is this race. Obviously, Christian got on the podium. Pato, very close to getting on the podium.
Definitely had the ability to.
Definitely had the ability if the race was a little bit longer or if other aspects of the race had worked in his favor. Nolan was non-existent the entire race. That's unacceptable for me, especially this isn't his first season. As a Tom Blomqvist fan, I go back to Tom in his contract, the way things were kind of written out was if he still wasn't getting results by the 500 for his first season, he was getting replaced, which is ultimately what we saw. Colin, you've had multiple seasons. You're still not showing yourself to be equivalent to your teammates. Actually, you're hindering the team at this rate. You're holding up your teammates, but you're also not helping the team in points compared to your teammates. And I'd say we have a pretty good backup because Ryan he was at this race. He's our 500 fill-in. We have a very competent driver that could take over the 6th seat very easily, especially
Indy 500 winner, IndyCar champion Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Right. Yes.
Is now affiliated with McLaren. So
he was literally
they have someone
on the 7th stand for this race. So like after the 500, all I'm saying is the 6th seat should be his in my eyes. Maybe even sooner. Because, Nolan, you've gotten your chance for a while now, and you haven't been proving yourself. And I'm sure you'd get a sports car seat pretty quickly, whether with United or Inner Europol, because you've been doing stuff with them, too.
Yeah. We've been pretty good at predicting stuff as of late, so I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if we saw that happen in the near future.
Yeah. Especially, they have guys on the United squad that have confirmed hypercar seats. So they're gonna need somebody to fill in that spot next year. Just saying.
Yeah, for ELMS, definitely. Asian Le Mans Series, they could still run their hypercar guys, but yeah. ELMS, I think, is where he ends up, honestly. Because there's nothing wrong with IndyCar not being what you're best suited for. You know, there are lots of drivers that have done a variety of series, and sports cars is what suited them best. You know, I mean, I don't want to, like, rag on Nolan too hard because Nolan won Le Mans in class. So, you know, he's a very good driver in sports cars. Um,
It's actually why I want him to go back to sports cars, is because he's shown that he is a very competent sports car driver.
I think
So,
if
like,
they had cut him, like, in the offseason, put him in United for this year, he would be in the McLaren hypercar next year.
yeah.
The problem is, you're not going to come off this terrible IndyCar career and get thrown into McLaren's brand new hypercar program, most
No.
likely.
Yeah. Also, just from the way McLaren has made it sound, it sounds like they kind of have those lineups for the hypercar pretty much figured out.
See,
They've
I
kind of
haven't,
said,
did you talk to people this weekend? Because there's still nothing that about anybody other than Mikkel Jensen for
there was an
those
article
seats.
I read that they haven't definitively come down on their lineups, but
Well, they have a pool of people they're looking
they
at.
have
Yeah,
a very
of
significant pool, and
Yeah.
they're not really looking much outside.
I
of the
wouldn't be
pool.
shocked if Nolan is in that pool,
Yes.
maybe on the lower end of it, because unfortunately for him, you have the entirety of the Alpine lineup available.
Yes.
You have, in some likelihood, the entirety of PPM available. So
It was just from this article I read, it basically they made it sound like they have their pool and they're not really looking to add to it.
Yeah.
They've basically been we've narrowed it down to the people that are in this pool. We're not actively looking for people still. We've narrowed
Yeah.
it down to the people we want.
I would, like I said, I would not be shocked if Nolan
Yeah.
Siegel's name is on that list. You
Yeah.
know,
Obviously,
if it's a
don't
list
know
of
who's
10
on
people,
the list. He could be.
See, that's
so.
what I thought. I thought you had started hearing names.
No.
That you had heard from people at this race, names on that list. Because that's
No.
something that is so locked down. Paul DeResta is the only name I frequently hear getting thrown around for it.
Yeah.
And he's a reasonable option for them. Decent, experienced driver.
Yeah, no. Just the fact that they've basically, that pool is locked. Doesn't mean Nolan, obviously, like you said, isn't in it, but,
yeah.
they're not
Right, they're
looking
not,
outside
they're
of it.
not looking at, let's maybe add some, Carrera Cup guy
Yeah.
to our pool that was really, really exciting this year. They're not just gonna pull a random guy out of nowhere. Yeah, that makes total sense. And then, like I said in the intro, Qatar, the opening round for the World Endurance Championship, may or may not happen. It feels like it's been unofficially canceled at this point, but
Yes.
the ACO and the FIA have not officially said that it is canceled. There are a lot of kind of issues with getting people there, obviously, with the closed airspace. Now, there's no reason to say people could not fly into Saudi Arabia, which is open airspace, and then drive to Qatar. If the race has decided it is happening, that is a viable option to get personnel there. I think from what I have seen people saying online, it looks like I think Daily Sportscar and Sportscar 365 both said that just about every team has all of their equipment there. So moving the race, doing a Super Sebring, doing a double Imola are not options.
Yeah.
So if the race doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Imola will be round one.
Yeah, so also for context, because I was watching the news right before we got on, because I wanted to stay up to date, the US government has said, the plan all along was this to take, 4 weeks. It could take longer. So, what they're wanting to do. I don't know. So that kind of gives a timeline sort of sense of how long the airspace could be closed.
The Qatari government has said that all sporting competition is suspended for at least the next 3 weeks, but have specifically mentioned events in April as already being like rescheduled for later times in the year. So I think that it's already Qatar has already been unofficially canceled. The prologue has already been unofficially canceled.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that I think that pretty much confirms it's a no-go, and we've also seen people mention that even what would be round two, which would become round one in Imola, could be affected by all this because people would be unable to get their equipment out of Qatar and back to Europe. So essentially, one thing is going to could snowball into something bigger, and the whole first bit of the season is essentially disrupted.
Yeah. And if after Imola, like if Imola has to get canceled because teams can't get their equipment out of Qatar, who's to say they're going to be able to get their equipment out of Qatar for Spa? You know, I mean, at some point we run the risk of the 2026 World Endurance Championship not happening because so much equipment is stuck in a place that it cannot be retrieved from.
Yeah, it's definitely. I see this season as just something that's going to be up in limbo until what's going on like gets figured out, like more time passes, sort of deal.
Right.
Because even like the government's timeline of 4 weeks, now they're saying 6 weeks or longer. So like even that is now starting to shift. So it's kind of one of those things where everything I feel like is just going to be up in limbo as things play out.
Yeah. And then, as you know, we are doing a series of cycling instructors or bike instructors for Oz. This week's is Renger van de Zande because, I don't know, we've been talking about Acura MSR drivers all episode, so why not have him as this week's cycling instructor? He is about as crazy as Larry when it comes to riding a bike, so he may actually not be the best instructor. However, he has 2 children of bicycling age, so since we know you're a child,
I'm not a child.
May be able to help you and your Paw Patrol bike with training wheels learn to ride at Sebring.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ranger, I feel like, gets like bumped up a little bit, even though he's like a crazy cyclist, by the fact he has young kids who he's definitely had to teach how to ride a bike, and has like multiple kids that he's had to probably teach how to ride a bike.
He's also Dutch and rides like a normal ride around Amsterdam bike that isn't his road bike.
Okay, but so as we know, one of my things, if you don't know my story of why I need bike lessons from part 1 of this, it is that I was riding a bike in the Netherlands and crashed the bike into a bridge and then almost hit a cow in the Netherlands with the bike because it wouldn't brake. So how would Ringer feel about that? And like,
I feel like he needs to restore the honor of his country.
Maybe.
Yes.
Because Ringer, your country did kind of traumatize me a little bit when it comes to bike.
Yes.
The cheese is good, though. We'll say that. Okay. We've been very actively keeping up on if Michael Christensen has a seat or not, and I am very happy to report that Michael Christensen does have a seat. It's an NLS. His lineup that he's on is amazing. This is definitely my car, because it's Bastian, it's Loke, and it's Joel Sturm, who, if you don't know, the 3 of them drove together and got a podium. So, like, adding Michael to this lineup,
pretty handy around the Nürburgring, you know?
Yes.
That's actually why I have the car sitting over there. It's not because of Kevin, shockingly. This is Michael Christensen's car.
But I'm just saying, if Bastian, Loke, and Joel as teammates can get a podium, adding Michael into the mix for this car It's gonna be good, y'all. I'm excited.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod. Nicole is at Nicole on Racing. Auston is at Auston Trackside. Aries is at Aries_Alpenglow.
Stay orange.